Hi Karen, it's Kristen. I'm going to be sending you video feedback on your creative submissions each week in videos like this one that I will share with you in the feedback section of the assignment. So please let me know if you have any questions about that. Um, I also just want to say thank you for showing up for each of these prompts with creativity and vulnerability and a willingness to try something new. It comes across. In particular, I have to say that I watched your video submission before reading your poems in text. And I'm so glad that I did because this poem, the I Am From poem in particular, and the way that you read it in your video assignment, it just gave me this whole deeper level of the meaning of this poem, the humor in this poem. So thank you for that. One other just sort of point of clarification in future weeks, if you wouldn't mind, please put your poems and your questions all in a single document. It just makes it a little bit easier to read it and to create these videos within the system. So just stick them in one document, and I'd appreciate it. Of course, don't worry about it for this week. So this first poem, the I Am From poem, I really love the way that you followed the form of the Mary Pfeiffer poem, but you also broke away from the form, in particular the Barbie doll moment. So I'm from Barbie dolls, and then that parenthetical expression, but don't you dare cut their hair or else, and swimming lessons, bringing in that additional voice to the poem, I think functions really well, works really well. Um, and I think it's interesting because it sounds like the same tone of voice as the voice two lines earlier, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. It just sort of captures that same tone. And so I really appreciate that. And then how you include that voice again, do as I say, not as I do. So it feels like there's this whole other character in this poem that keeps showing up. And I think that that makes it a little bit unique and a little bit yours. So thank you for submitting that one. Let me go ahead and go back to your submissions and we'll look at poem two. Okay. I also, of course, really enjoyed reading this one because I got to see the form you choose, right? I got to see what you do without me giving you a form. And I really like the decisions that you made with these shorter lines. I think it serves the poem well. I like seeing where you broke the stanzas. And so it's sort of two separate ideas. It feels like two separate ideas in these two separate stanzas, kind of with that break halfway through. That feels really intentional to me. I like the idea of the light. I like the idea of the light starting off sort of as this large scope of the sky and a star, and then getting closer, almost like a flashlight, or you being in control of that light and then capturing that light on the page. I think the shape of that works really well for me. I would say, in terms of the next edit of this poem, I would encourage you to go through with your red pen and be very willing to cut words that feel extra or feel excessive. So, what I mean by that is, let's look at the second stanza. But after the words have come, then I'm no longer shining a light, but my words instead have become the light, crackling and blazing and pushing out all that I am to those who will read. So I would encourage you to think about cutting words that don't seem like they're necessary. I think there's some extra words here that are padding your poem and interrupting these beautiful shimmering images that you have. So, for example, I would suggest after the words have come, right? Getting rid of the word but, just after the words have come, getting rid of then. I'm no longer shining a light. Getting rid of but. My words have become the light. Getting rid of instead. I don't think you need those words that are padding it that you would need in a paragraph or a sentence description. Poetry gives us a little bit more freedom to be sparse, right? So my suggestion would be to go ahead through this poem and really keep an eye on what words you're using that feel like extra padding, and see what that does. See what else shimmers to the surface when you remove that padding from these beautiful images of yours. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing your work, and I look forward to seeing edits of these poems and your next round of poems.